Hello friends, welcome to the Legion Raid Detail Guide featuring BRELSHAZA. BRELSHAZA is a raid where you can enter at item level 1490, and per 2 gates, the item level requirement increases to 1500 and 1520. This guide will cover BRELSHAZA's last battle, Gate 6. Let's get to it right away. I also want to give out a shout out to Mobalytics for helping me edit this video. They're also providing the written part of this guide, so if you want to check into details or use the cheat sheets, check the link out below in the descriptions. Gate 6 is a mechanically heavy raid that also requires specific DPS pushes to control the flow of the fight. Its major mechanics last very long, and having a solid raid leader that keeps track of them is very crucial to make this overall fight much easier. There are way too many mechanics that can kill you or your party mates, so everyone needs to be focused throughout the long fight. I would suggest to prioritize understanding the mechanics rather than pushing damage. Battle items required are whirlwind grenades and time stop. Last slot can be swiftness rope to help your movement speed. If you don't need them, sacred charms are also good to cleanse your teammates from series of debuffs. Unless you're comfortable with a short burst staggering, most raid groups take dark grenades and connect them to push as much DPS as possible. Because more DPS you have, the easier the gate is. Here are the major HP lines you should keep in mind. 222, Phantasm Tornado, 212, first yellow dimension shape mechanic, 188, Meteor mechanics will start, known as Majihara in Korea. 112, Worship Phase, known as Chanmi Phase in Korea. 62, Phantasm Tornado number 2. 32, second yellow dimension shape mechanic. And 25, Corner Stage is broken, last phase. Gate 6 has fall damage, just like Valten. You can die instantly from falling, and players can accidentally destroy additional platforms to cause sudden deaths throughout the fight. The stage is a 3x3 map, where any of the tiles can be destroyed through the mechanics. You can relate to the workshop's 3x3 area if you want to discuss strategies with your team. Destroyed platforms take a long time to recover as well. If people do not track and calculate properly, Gate 6 is where anybody can be extremely overwhelmed. However, compared to the older versions, it has gotten nerfed a lot, so if you memorize and focus on the important actions, it won't be as hard as you think. The first mechanic will start at 222 lines. BRELSHAZA will usually have a laughter and a special cast animation. Most players in the raid group will receive a debuff, while various tornadoes appearing throughout the map. These tornadoes do severe damage to you, and it will remove your debuff. If you keep the debuff for the full duration by not getting hit by the tornadoes, you'll be pulled into a different dimension where you'll see a small black hole somewhere in the middle of the map. This black hole can be destroyed by one major DPS skill for most classes. If nobody gets sent to the next dimension, or nobody can destroy this black hole, this object will enlarge and create a gigantic black hole that will either pull you in or pull you outwards, hindering your mobility. The standard procedure is dodge, and then destroy the black hole to proceed the fight. But if your raid team does sufficient damage, pushing DPS while trusting the support's awakening shields is a good idea to hopefully skip the pattern. Second major mechanic will start at 212 lines. BRELSHAZA will teleport to the middle and start channeling her attack. She will send every individual players to different dimensions. Your vision will be yellowish color, and various light purple orbs will shoot out from the center. We'll call this the yellow dimension. This is one of the good safe spots to hang around too. You won't get hit at all, or just a few orbs will hit you. Orbs don't do much damage, but they do push you around very far away from the center if unlucky. Also, you will notice the background will show a special symbol glowing bright orange. There are total 8 different shapes: circle, triangle, square, pentagon, octagon, star, hourglass, and Venn diagram. When purple orbs finish firing, she will fly upwards and proceed to blow up 6 total tiles. The safe spot's either horizontal or vertical 3 tiles. If you see these glowing tiles, they will kill you instantly when it explodes, so you must move quickly to a safe spot. BRELSHAZA will do this total 3 times. If you survive the 3 explosions safely, you'll be sent back to the outside dimension to your teammates. BRELSHAZA will then cast in the middle again. This time, the projectiles fired from the center will do significant damage. If you stand in the middle tile before she finishes firing the center projectiles, you will be able to see the chosen glowing orange shape. One person should remember seeing the same shape inside their yellow dimension. Basically, you'll need to dodge the exact same pattern 3 times again outside, but only one person will know the answer. Meaning, if the star-shaped yellow dimension shows 5 o'clock, center, and 11 o'clock safe spots, and BRELSHAZA decide to do the star-shaped pattern outside, the player who dodged those safe spots will need to lead the other players to stand on the 3 safe locations outside. Let's summarize one more time. At 212 lines, BRELSHAZA will phase. If all players are alive, players will be sent to their individual yellow 8 dimensions. They can all identify their orange shapes by looking at the background. In the yellow dimension, there will be total 3 explosion patterns. You'll need to stand on the safe spots by looking closely at the tiles. If you succeed, you'll be sent back outside. BRELSHAZA will choose a random orange shape from the existing 8 shapes. You can identify the shapes by standing closer to the middle tile. BRELSHAZA will float up and cast the exact same 3 explosions from the chosen shape's yellow dimension. The explosions don't have warning signs, so you will need to remember where the safe spots were to move way beforehand. Inverted controls is what make this mechanic troublesome. There are total 3 tile explosions, and your first set of explosion will be inverted controls, so you would need to click opposite of where you desire to go. During the second explosion, your movement controls are back to normal, but the controls at the third explosion will be back to inverted. There are really no tips other than getting used to the controls, but keep in mind that your controls will always be inverted at the first and the third explosions. If you happen to be in a party where it just doesn't progress due to this inverted controls, utilizing Esther and Nana is a good idea because it removes the debuff, but the party will need to cover the lack of DPS. Additional cases to mention are movement speed related as well, but the truth is, everyone's movement speed is capped at 140% during this phase, so you do not have to worry about swiftness ropes. If you happen to think movement speed is the issue, it's rather due to your positioning. I recommend everyone to always try position yourself close to the center to get yourself a shorter travel distance for the upcoming patterns. For example, if you happen to be in 1 o'clock tile for the first pattern, and your next safe spot being 5 o'clock, staying close and pre-position yourself to the center side will always get yourself only 1 tile distance to any safe spots. Even in mobile classes will have plenty of time to move to the next safe spots. Korean pugs tend to type their positions to prevent confusion of memorizing the set of patterns. Most are calculated based on expositional as well to organize it good, which is between 11, 1, 5, and 7 o'clock, and center 0. So if your square yellow dimension and your 3 patterns are here, here, and here, Korean pugs will type square 5, 11, 5. If typing in chat is hard, you can always communicate via voice comms, and you can use your pings too. But you must remember your yellow dimensions pattern. Only you can know the 3 safe spots. If you have passed the first yellow dimension shape mechanic, the next one will start at 188 lines. The boss will be at 99% damage reduction and will cue a cutscene. Afterwards, every living player will receive a yellow or a blue debuff. There will be a circle telegraphed below your feet, and after a few seconds, a meteor of the corresponding color will fall down on your head. You can check the exact timing by looking at your debuff bar. Keep an eye on it. These meteors provide damage to the tiles you're standing on, and these tiles can break if they take enough damage from the meteors. Before I continue to explain the mechanics further, we must understand this concept first. Gate 6 is a 3x3 map. Except the center tile, total HP of all surrounding tiles are 3. Blue meteors do 1 damage. Tiles with 2 HP left glows yellow on the lines. Tiles with 1 HP left glows and have an additional lingering aura on it as well. If you drop 1 more blue meteor at this tile, it will break and any players on top of it will die from fall damage. The broken tiles will recover back after 1 minute and 40 seconds. If there are more than 3 broken tiles, the raid fails no matter what. The center tile has 14 HP, and we will explain why very soon. Starting from 188 lines, every 50-ish lines will spawn 1 yellow meteor to a random person. This yellow meteor's explosion radius is very large. Even if you drop it at the very corner of the map, the explosion can reach 2 tiles, and it will always hit the middle tile on every impact. Yellow meteor also does 3 damage in total, so it will always destroy minimum 3 tiles on every impact. Regardless of what corner you place them, the middle tile will always receive 3 damage every yellow meteor. This particular yellow meteor appears at 188, 137, 87, and 37 bars, total 4 times, which is total 12 damage to the middle tile. Breaking the middle tile itself results in immediate reset. So the middle tile used to have 13 HP, but this has been nerfed to 14 to allow 1 mistake. With this information in mind, let's go over the mechanics step by step again. At 188 lines, Bro will spawn series of meteors. With all 8 players alive, there will be 7 blue meteors and 1 yellow meteor falling down their head. Yellow meteor must be dropped at the very corner of the map to not destroy more than 3 tiles upon impact. Blue meteors will need to be dropped to not destroy any more tiles, usually thrown away to tiles that are soon to be destroyed by the yellow meteor impact. This is why all pugs in Korea place their meteors in a specific way, because meteors are given periodically to all players, and yellow meteor falls much slower than blue meteors at the initial starting phase. First is always yellow, where it gets placed in the 12 o'clock corner. Number 2 and 3 blue meteors are placed at the 12 o'clock tile. Number 4, 5, and 6 is placed at the 11 o'clock tile. Number 7 and 8 are placed at 1 o'clock tile. The actual position doesn't matter as much. It can be anywhere from 12, 11, or 1 o'clock, because the goal is to throw away the blue meteors at a soon-to-be dead tile. Early numbered blue meteors have plenty of time to escape the tile before getting destroyed, but blue meteor number 7 and 8 are the last ones to fall before the yellow meteors impact, so sometimes the timing may feel too tight for some people. In this case, if you're scared, last blue meteor number 8 can utilize the 3 or 9 o'clock spare tiles to safely place one blue meteor. If everyone has successfully done this, there will be 3 total top tiles broken, and we'll continue to fight with a smaller stage. These broken tiles will respawn at minute 40 seconds. From this point on, additional number of blue meteors will fall down on random players' heads every minute, and yellow meteor will fall down every 50-ish HP lines. The goal is to understand and track the meteor spawn and placements. You need to avoid 4 tiles breaking before regen, because as soon as the 4th tile gets destroyed, there will be an immediate wipe. Gate 6 is hard because you need to drop BRELSHAZA's HP to 0 while thinking about the meteors the whole fight. If yellow meteor's HP requirement and 1 minute blue meteor timer is overlapping, the blue meteors will always overrule spawning. So if you happen to see yellow meteor not spawning even if the set HP lines are passed, it is safe to assume blue meteors coming soon. As for blue meteors, excluding the initial 188 line 8 meteor spawn, 2 meteors will spawn after, then 3, then 4, then it repeats the 3 and 4 blue meteors at 1 minute intervals. If you're confused about meteor placements, I will share a cheat sheet for you on how most Korean pugs place their meteors 99% of the time. But I personally recommend communicating before placements, like figuring out bingo bomb placements in a clown raid. Yellow meteors are generally placed 12, 6, 12, and then 6 o'clock again. In this case, your spare tiles will be 3 o'clock and 9 o'clock tiles, since they'll never be hurt from the yellow meteors. These 3 and 9 o'clock tiles can be used as a spare for emergencies to tank some blue meteor hits. However, make sure to not break these tiles by accident, because they must be regen if it gets destroyed. If you have successfully completed placing your meteors until 112 lines, the next mechanic will start. Boss will teleport to the middle with high damage reduction applied. Then cutscene will begin. She will become gigantic and appear behind the map. Everyone will need to stand on the middle tile and dodge series of slow pizzas while the safe zone becomes smaller. Afterwards, she'll smash her palm into the center. So as soon as everyone recognizes the pizza pattern has been finished, you'll need to get out of the center tile quick as you can. After the palm smash, there will be a large black hole placed in the impact area that pulls everyone in very slowly. At the same time, there will be 4 black orbs spawning in the center of the 4 random outer tiles that are not broken. Make sure to stay far away from the center area of the outer tiles during this time, or you will ruin the mechanic. There will also be red and yellow projectiles being sucked into the black hole from outside the map. Red projectiles provide 1 stack of debuff each impact, taking 3 of these will result in death. These red projectiles travel very fast too. Esther Shandy can slow down the projectile speed to help the overall mechanic's difficulty. Since you will get another Esther meter after the mechanic, it is often recommended to use Shandy here. Players will have 2 options. You need to gather minimum 1 stack of yellow buff and jump in the black center orb at the right timing, or have at least 2 stacks of yellow buffs to survive the black hole pull. For players who are planning to go inside a small black orb in the center, they are assigned for outside dimension mechanics. If players happen to be dead, I advise players to focus on taking these 4 small black orbs to stay in the outside dimension. You want 3 to 4 players to be outside at this mechanic. Also, on a side note, you must watch out when entering the small black orb in the center. The correct timing is when the orb shakes as if it's going to explode, as shown here. You must be patient. Going in earlier results in death most of the time. It is better to be patient and go in later than earlier. Once you get out of the small black orbs, 8 clones of BRELSHAZA will appear on all existing tiles. If you touch these clones, she will either do nothing, or turn clockwise, or counterclockwise. You will also briefly see the screen go yellow as well. Outside team's responsibility is to find where these 2 spinning clones are and reporting it to the inside team. Since distance between the tiles are pretty far away, most classes can check only 2 or 3 clones at a given time. You need to watch out and try not to overlap routes between the other outside members. You need to be very close to the clones, otherwise they'll not react properly even when they're the correct spinning clones. There will be 2 sets of 2 clones, 4 total spawning throughout this mechanic. Ones who do not have a center small black orb are the ones who require 2 sets of yellow buffs taken before they're pulled into the yellow dimension again, into the black hole. When they're pulled in, their goal is to succeed a stagger check or counters to receive a buff to return to the outside dimension back alive. The yellow dimension will have a black hole constantly pulling you in, so you must maneuver at a proper angle to travel at a fast speed. There will also be projectiles coming out from the center. They do decent amount of damage and paralyze you, so watch your area. You won't need to wait for the outside team to tell you where the 2 spinning clones are. If the outside clone spins clockwise, it's a stagger check. If it spins counterclockwise, it's a counter check. If you fail this mini mechanic, the clone will explode and drop a blue meteor on the tile. If the tile has 1 HP left, it will break as well. Succeeding this mechanic will drop a special ether, where it will give you a shield to survive the after explosion to get back to the outside dimension. Mechanic will happen 2 at a time, with total 4 players being able to receive this buff. If an additional person makes a mistake and gets pulled in, 1 person will inevitably die from the after explosion. Most classes should be able to succeed the stagger check without a problem if you're carrying a whirlwind grenade. If your raid doesn't allow to carry whirlwind grenade due to low DPS, it is advised to equip 1 legendary overwhelm rune in your main stagger skill. As for the counterattack, the clone always spawn at the exact center of the tile facing outwards. You need to stand a little further out, facing to the center. Use counter skill as if the clone raises their hand. These counters don't have a blue flashing lights, so you have to judge based on its animation and sound cues. All classes are required to carry a counterattack in gate 6 due to this. You never know if you have to counter inside in the yellow dimension. Let's review it one more time step by step and share how Korean pugs do this. Players' tile responsibility is based on their party number, ×3 for party 1 and ×3 + 1 for party 2. After dodging giant BRELSHAZA's palm smash, everyone will go to their respective tiles while raid leader casts Esther Shandi. Again, make sure to not stand in the middle of the tile when projectiles and black orbs are spawning. Everyone will ping to communicate the positions of the small center black orbs. Players on those tiles will be going into the small black orb to stay in the outside dimension. If everyone has taken the correct yellow buffs and executed the orbs properly, 4 players will be outside and 4 players will be inside. It is important to clear comms and leave all comms and pings to the outside members to find the BRELSHAZA clones quickly. This is to make sure the inside yellow dimension players to find where their mechanics are. When 2 clones are found, inside players will need to split accordingly and succeed the mechanic. Instead of DPSing the boss, it is important for the outside members to prepare for the next set of clones to spawn and find the 2 spinning clones as fast as possible. It is also recommended to communicate the tiles that each people will look for route efficiency. Since there are going to be 4 players, they can look at 2 tiles each to cover all 8 clones very quickly. If the inside players succeed 2 more counters or stagger and equally provide the necessary buffs to survive, everyone will rejoin at the outside dimension after the explosion. Next major mechanic starts at 62 lines. This mechanic is exactly the same as what you experienced at 222 lines, the Phantasm Tornadoes. However, the platforms are broken and you have to deal with the meteors at the same time. It will be very problematic for you if you fail this mechanic, since it will spawn a gigantic black hole in the middle. You need to utilize battle items like Swiftness Robe or Time Stop Potion to protect your debuff in order to get to the other dimension and destroy the black hole. The next major mechanic will start at 32 lines. It will usually happen right after the 4th, the last yellow meteor at 37 lines. This is the second shape dimension mechanic from 212 lines. 2 major differences are platforms being broken at this time and inverted controls being random as well. The inverted control can be very difficult for learning players, and it's still a big hassle for expert players. Most raid groups use Esther and Nana to remove the inverted control debuff to have full control during this mechanic. Make sure to not use it too early though. Use it a little later after the dimension have turned yellow with projectile spawning. If you have to execute the mechanic without the Inanna due to low DPS, you have to check your debuff before every explosion to see your controls inverted or not. This mechanic is extremely hard due to broken tiles, especially if safe spots are at 3 o'clock on the first explosion and 9 o'clock on the second. Most people die due to distance and getting stuck in the invisible wall in the corner. 21:9 resolution makes it easier, but a good tip is to pay attention to either 3 or 9 o'clock first. Because let's say if 9 o'clock shows as a danger zone, you just need to run to the right side because safe zone will be around there. Also, don't forget to always stay close to the center area to make sure you have less distances to travel. At 25 HP lines, the boss will teleport to the center once again with a special dialogue. It shows drop 3 blue meteors each on 12, 3, 6, 9 o'clock tiles. Stay away from them because all the corner tiles will break. The 4th tile being broken will not wipe your party anymore from this point onwards. These 12, 3, 6, 9 o'clock tiles will also respawn after every minute and 40 seconds. But BRELSHAZA will keep dropping meteors to break them all, so just avoid the corner tiles as a whole. There are no more major mechanics, so you just need to push your HP to 0 to clear BRELSHAZA Legion raid. Let's go over some special patterns. Here are some you'll be seeing very often. These patterns make Gate 6 a really troublesome raid mixed with major mechanics like meteors. 4-5 pools. There will be a large yellowish green pool for 4 people, red pool for 1, and 3 people will have nothing under their feet. The large yellowish green pool will explode when the debuff timer runs out. The explosion will do a significant amount of damage to all players inside. You must stay far away from other players when you have this. As for the red pool, you need at least 4 people standing on top of this to prevent it from exploding. If this is done successfully, a bigger red pool will spawn again. This time, it requires minimum 5 players standing on top of this pool to prevent it from exploding. Any of the red explosions can apply a kill damage to certain eye level classes. So you must focus on doing this mechanic than doing DPS. This pattern causes reset to most raid groups. Blue ring tethers. 5 players will be glowing red. 3 players will receive the large yellowish green pool. The yellowish green pool players will need to stay away like the 4-5 pool before it explodes. As for the 5 glowing red players, they need to group up inside the blue ringed player. You can identify it if you're doing this correctly by noticing blue tether forming with the center player. Players inside the blue ring will receive a shield for the after explosion. Almost all classes on eye level who haven't received the shield will get killed from this explosion. You have to use a time stop if you notice you haven't succeeded this mechanic. You can check the explosion timing by looking at the boss's HP UI. Purple tethers. Players will be tethered. Other player will need to intercept and take the tethers away from the initial player. If this is done wrong, a meteor attack will happen with a large red warning sign. This is the kill damage for most on-eye level classes. Vanished or Shandyland. BRELSHAZA will fire 3 black orbs. This is really hard to dodge. If players get hit by this, they'll be sent to an outer space. Shandy will save you afterwards. Grab and stagger. BRELSHAZA will dash towards a player. Then she'll create 2 red platforms in front of her and 1 small white platform around her. If you stand on top of these platforms, you'll be grabbed, and only 1 person will be grabbed. She will smash her right hand, then left hand to grab the players. If players are not grabbed, there will be an immediate explosion that will knock off players and enough damage to kill most players. If 2 players are grabbed properly, she'll do a small stagger check. You need to succeed the stagger to finish the mechanic. White platform will spawn an orb if nobody stands on top of it to block it from spawning. If the orb gets spawned, its explosion radius is huge and it does big damage as well. If you have less players for this mechanic, people use time stop to skip this. Make sure to press it when the right hand impacts the ground, before left hand impacts. Knockout to safe zone. Just like Gate 5, BRELSHAZA will cast a large explosion to knock everyone over. Then she will create 3 safe yellow platforms. Minimum 3 people will need to stand on top of this to avoid incoming after explosion damage. Let's go over some critical normal patterns you should know. Yellow knockout swing. Boss stretches her arms and attacks. She always attacks twice, and there are some additional variations. The warning telegraphs are very large and quick. These are yellow warning signs, so I personally recommend to think all yellow warning telegraphs are instant death. These attacks knock you out at least 1 tile distance away, usually resulting in fall death. Let's go over the variations. If the warning sign is a very large fan shape that covers both front and back, she will teleport to counter. The counter itself is a very large knockback, so you must watch out. If the initial warning sign is a front fan shape, she'll always attack again at a small circle or a large double rings. After 112 lines, she'll do another variation where she starts with double rings or a circle warning sign, then a double front back fan attack afterwards. To simplify this, my suggestion is to think all yellow signs as instant death attacks. On a side note, if you're push immune and get hit by this attack, you'll receive a debuff stack that is not cleansable. If you receive this 3 times, a blue meteor will fall under your head regardless of the blue meteor timing. Super armor class like gun lancers will need to not rely too much on this combat readiness because they'll receive additional blue meteors that can potentially wipe the party. Ding pattern. 2 variations. This pattern has an internal cooldown of 2 minutes. BRELSHAZA will snap her fingers and you'll hear a ding sound, and she'll spawn a 1 random pattern out of the 2. First variation is a middle meteor. This attack has a large yellow circle warning sign and it's slow. This doesn't do much damage, but it will knock you out at least 1 tile to potentially kill you from fall damage. Spacebar or push immunity works, but you'll get the debuff stack that can potentially summon blue meteors on 3rd hit. Second variation is a Bent's logo looking projectiles. These will fly around and its rays will explosively extend, and getting hit by this will also knock you out very far as well. After 112 lines, the middle meteor version will be 2 middle-sized circles instead of 1, and Bent's logo will be homing projectile instead of free roam. Counter. Boss will wrap herself in a crystal shield and teleport to a random player. When she appears, she'll charge up a shockwave that is counterable. It is a very free pattern where it's easily counterable if everyone groups up to not disperse aggro. Glass window with pizza. The screen will darken and look like broken glasses. Also, one person will be targeted to have a yellow pizza aimed at him. After it finishes targeting, the pizza can knock you out very far. It is important for the targeted player to aim the pizza away from everyone, then dash into safety. If you're way outside the safe spot, you'll be damaged with silence. After 112 lines, number of people targeted will be increased to 2. Grab. She'll do a pre-animation before this grab. It is good to memorize this telegraph. BRELSHAZA will try to grab you and cause a small explosion around their hands. There will be an additional frontal fan-shaped 3-line waves that can kill you if shotgun close. If someone gets grabbed, she'll also spawn 3-line waves behind her. After 112 lines, she fires an energy wave in front of her if anyone gets grabbed. Dash scratches. After she does a power-up animation, she'll dash forward while scratching. This knocks you up and does a lot of damage to you. After 112 lines, she'll do this twice, and her second dash is counterable. Pizza. Regular pizza where you need to memorize the order, then dodge accordingly. This doesn't do much damage in normal, so you can receive various buffs from support, then DPS while taking damage. Tomato projectiles. She will summon various tomato projectiles. If you get hit by this, you'll be paralyzed for a while. The tomatoes will also spawn additional explosion under it, and that does a lot of damage as well. All these damages can overlap too, and it causes sudden death to most people. Truth and Lie Medusas. BRELSHAZA will spawn a Medusa eye. There are few tells for this. There are sound cues where she'll either say Eye of Truth or Eye of Lies, where Truth is a Medusa eye where you look at, and Lies where you look away. Graphic tells is based on the black rays. If the rays are emitting out of the eye, it's a look away Medusa. If the rays are getting pulled into the eye, it's a looking Medusa. After line 112, she'll spawn 2 eyes instead of 1. Sound cue isn't as clear for the second eye, and the effects will change to radio waves. So it is good to look at the waves it creates. Waves going out is a look away, and waves going in is a looking eye. Cross explosion. BRELSHAZA will face a random aggro and cast a cross-shaped explosion. She'll do this twice. Make sure to not circle around to change the where she's facing. After 112 lines, the explosion will enhance into a large grid explosion. Red cone explosion. Sometimes, Bro shoots a big energy wave to a random player, and she might cast a counterable large red cone explosion afterwards. This is a very dangerous attack, so it is advisable to get behind her except the aggro person, or just use a time stop. After 112 lines, she teleports to a random player after the pizza pattern, and casts an uncounterable red cone explosion. Showtime. She'll fire a laser from her arms and spin around. You'll need to rotate together. After 112 lines, she'll rotate the other way as well in a combo. Red hands. She'll spawn various red hands that will collide each other into the center. It is very important to dodge this, because this will create another line-shaped explosion if you get hit by this red hands. Darius. She'll spawn 2 axes with the center black platform as a safe spot. Just like Darius, it does an insane amount of damage with additional bleed debuff on top. If you cannot make to the center or run far away, you must use your time stop here. Jump smash. She'll jump at an aggro with an explosion. Very simple. After 112 lines, she'll also counter afterwards. Lastly, let's talk about Sidereal usages. All 3 Sidereals are used in Gate 6. Azena is for pure DPS. Shandi and Nana is to help with mechanics. We'll go over Esther choices per time frames. The first Sidereal is usually Azena. Most raid groups use Azena after 188 mechanic for easier DPS push. You may use Azena right after 212 mechanic as well, if you have enough DPS to prevent pushing way too fast between 188 and 137 lines. You may use Inanna if your raid is struggling with the inverted control using the mechanic. The second Sidereal is usually Shandi. Shandi is used for Worship Chami mechanic at 112 lines. You can use Shandi after the Palm Smash to slow down the red projectile's travel speed. This 112 mechanic itself recovers massive amount of Sidereal gauge, so it's advised to use Shandi for the mechanic unless you have to use Azena earlier for the DPS push, where you won't have the Esther gauge ready in the first place. The third Sidereal is usually Azena for a simple DPS push. Most BRELSHAZA's patterns can be hit by Azena's spears. Just be aware later parts of the spears do more damage. The fourth Sidereal is usually Inanna. This can be very dependent on your raid's DPS. You will have to use Azena if DPS lacks a lot, but it's ideal to use Inanna for the second shape dimension mechanic. If your raid's DPS happens to be too fast, you might even reach the mechanic before the Sidereal gauge being fully filled. Since the start of the mechanic recovered roughly 40% of Sidereal gauge, you can always count that before pushing the HP lines to the mechanic. For all Sidereals afterwards, you can just spam Azena if you happen to fill any more Sidereal gauge. With that, this concludes the last Gate 6 guide of BRELSHAZA. Gate 6 is a very long battle. Do not feel disheartened if it feels challenging in the beginning. Feel free to take your time and learn the mechanics slowly. This wraps up the detailed Legion Raid guide series featuring BRELSHAZA. As always, thank you everyone, and good luck. Bye!